We'll get on to the CIS RMR, which is like something out of the esports dark ages. Basically, it's a tournament that's been essentially compromised from start to finish. You've got the initial issue that the people hosting it own a team that were in it, and that team just so happened.
To be fair, that's true of Flashpoint as well.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I was going to add that caveat, but it's good of you to address that. And yeah, probably should be disqualifying for both companies, in my opinion. But I think we've just made peace with conflict of interest in esports. I think on some fucked up level, we acknowledge that without it, we just don't exist. So we just put up with it. So
it's like Australian football.
The vibe that me and you always get when we bring it up is there's people who are just sort of like, look, we all know, stop bloody going on. Stop rocking the boat. That's like the vibe I get from people in the industry. Like, I'm trying to fix the industry.
Yeah.
Like, just fucking
yes, we all know there's a little man behind the curtain, but we just really like Oz. We think it's a great society, you know? So anyway, so there was that, and that was obviously Virtus Pro. Virtus Pro did happen to get a bunch of favourable draws, seemingly. Obviously, I'm not accusing them of anything, but I couldn't even make the allegation if the ownership didn't exist. Conflict of interest 101, ladies and gentlemen. Then, early in the tournament, DDoSing started occurring, which, as anyone can tell you, should be profoundly difficult in this day and age for all the things that we've
been for a decade, has it?
Yeah, it's like 2013, 2014, the skins era all over again. Number of DDoS attacks in games that seem to involve Gambit a lot, but generally, whenever a favourite was playing an underdog, I wonder if betting was driving this. Now, the problem you had with the DDoSing as well is almost certainly someone with access to the player IPs, so i.e. from in the allegedly hermetically sealed competitive environment, has leaked those, which it'll probably become abundantly clear why that might have happened in a bit. Then we had a team accused, let's say, of cheating throughout. They seem to be looking at something, right, while they were playing and in bizarre situations. Yes. That was when the camera feed was working. A lot of the time it wasn't. It's a requirement, by the way, in an RMR to have a camera feed for all of the players. I know, I just worked one, and the only tech pauses we had at that event related to that. You have to have them working. They didn't seem to care too much about that. Then you had zero competitive integrity protections as far as I could tell. There was no anti-cheat. I don't think you need one. I don't think it should be disqualifying to not have your own anti-cheat client. An anti-cheat is a sophisticated piece of software. Not everyone can afford to develop them. So that's fine, but maybe something to think about for future RMRs.
I mean, you could license someone else's anti-cheat, to be fair.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, sure. Easy anti-cheat, or whatever it is, or a direct competitor. But if they would be willing to do it, I think I've seen ESL actually lend wire out to some people in the past. They didn't record player communications. It's an area fraught with peril. Sure.
Like the coaching thing, obviously relevant.
GDPR and all that stuff. So maybe that's not a big deal. But they didn't record POV demos, which is staggering to me in a tournament of this stature. There are no.
If people don't understand, by the way, one of the main problems in terms of players getting accused of cheating is that it comes from a Go TV rendering of what they're doing in the game, which I believe, off the top of my head, aren't they like 32 tick? And obviously people want like 128 tick as like the professional standard in Counter-Strike. So what you're saying there is the demo basically is downscaled from what the actual actions are. And so the most famous example ever, I'll use because it's one that in theory was shown not to be a problem, was the one where Fallen was playing an SK on Cobblestone and he did a scout shot, and because of how it like compresses the data to not have to use as much space, it made it look like he just like went along and up like that, but that was actually because it rendered like a diagonal move as like an along and an up basically. So the point here is, if you watch the demo as all the maniacs do, they watch that demo like it's the fucking Zapruder film and they're like see, look at this frame. It's like, but you're not actually watching what happened in the game. So what point Richard's making is, with no POV demos, you're actually opening the door to almost anyone getting accused of cheating in the game. Whereas if you can show the POV, looks nothing like that, then instantly the problem's gone in there.
Then it was revealed by a Forza player called Zorte that the Go TV relay had there was a Go TV relay in existence for all games that had zero delay, that was passworded. And he only found this out when playing a game because he noticed what he described as Chinese guys sitting there watching their match. I'm happy to explain in a moment why that's fucking outrageous. But then on top of all of that, I just got told today, literally in preparation for this show, by people who worked on that Epicenter broadcast, that in no way was that GoTV relay with 0 seconds delay, even though it was password protected, in no way was that kept under wraps, like under lock and key. That stream was given out to every caster that worked the event, every admin that worked the event, and just various other people around the broadcast side of things. So in other words, and all the admins. So in other words, this highly privileged piece of information that really should be going out to a very limited number of people, your betting data partners, the people running the tournament, and that's about fucking it.
Also, other broadcast partners. So, I to describe where this usually goes is like if there are alternate language broadcast partners that are operating productions like that would go there potentially. But you could also send them a delayed feed, and it probably wouldn't matter that much because the way I'm pretty sure the way it works, I could be wrong about this, but for example, we are delaying our stream by 5 minutes, but if we give somebody a delayed feed and they just broadcast it instantly, then it should be happening at basically the same time. Right. Yeah. So that also eliminates that problem potentially.
And so basically, it in my opinion, given that it is compromised on not one level and not in one match, but all matches on multiple levels, for me, the entire RMR, the only way you can have any form of integrity within the circuit now is to replay it.
I think you have to replay that entire tournament as well.
The whole thing's rotten.
And by the way, also, what's even more wild is that Perrymatch, who's one of the biggest betting partners in Russia, had to refund all of the bets on the match, which that tells you a lot.
By the way, they had the most hilarious possible way of saying it in the tweet, because what they said was, no accusations, just a gift. And as I said to Richard, just think, like, I won't cast aspersion on Paramatch particularly because I don't know them directly, but essentially we're seeing a betting company saw a load of people bet on presumably the favourite, lose money, and then went, we're not saying anything, but just have your money back. Like, what the fuck is your business model then? Like, that literally is your business model. So all I'm going to say is, if you're a fan, I don't think there's even like you can surely read between the lines on that one. By the way, one thing I want to ask Gomez about, because again, I want to just get like a contrast or a corroboration depending on which he goes with, right? What I said earlier, where when Richard said there's people have been DDoSed, like, dude, that's something I haven't heard of being vaguely relevant for literally like half a decade or something. Like, I'm thinking of like the bad old days, like 2014, 2015, when, you know, like real matches in like online tournaments would be delayed in the upper bracket final or whatever. Like, as far as I knew, that wasn't even really an issue anymore for players. Like, is it in this scenario? Do you ever hear about it happening anymore? If it happens, would you agree with Richard that it's just like you've been too loose with the security of the IP or something? What would you say to that, Gomez?
I haven't heard of it happening at all in the last 4 years. 2016, I reckon, was probably the last time. But it can happen very easily. I don't want to. Fuck it, I'll just say it anyway. When pro players join these deathmatch servers, they're owned by kids or whoever. Like, we don't know who owns these servers. They join the one with the lowest ping, and it's got the most people in it. You know, it's got 30 players. I'm going to join that one. If you own that server or you're an admin on that server, and often you can buy it, you can buy the admin because that's how they make the money, the servers. You can just do a console command, archon status. It'll just bring up all the players in the server, their Steam IDs and their IPs. You know,
as a leak, obviously, yes.
Yeah,
and these are where people are practicing.
VoIP, certain types of VoIP servers if you're an admin as well, and you connect to them. TeamSpeak's the big one. TeamSpeak is what ravaged the ESEA Premier now, of course. ESEA Premier playoffs that they just had. That was DDoSed in Oblivion as well. Again, because it was just small NA teams, no one seemed to give too much of a fuck about that. But basically their entire playoffs were compromised because someone, for the lulz, literally leaked all the IPs of several players across several teams, not even for any rhyme or reason, as far as we can tell. Like, literally did it because they thought it'd be hilarious. And
I must admit, it must have been an issue at some point, because I think the last 2 tournaments ESL ran when we were in NA still, so maybe New York and Cologne, we'll call it, or Beijing. They tried to get us to use VPNs and join their specific TeamSpeak and not let us use our own. Yeah. We did it in the end because we used a LAN TeamSpeak that no one has access to, because it's LAN, it's closed down, and we only wanted to use that one because of no delay. You know, we were no risk at all of our TeamSpeak being leaked, because it was a LAN one that I create on the day, and it gets deleted and recreated daily. And it's on a LAN network, so no one's getting access to that. But
as you can see, that is the type of protection you have to take. Unfortunately, the reason why IPs generally get leaked is people who want to fix matches, or heavy bettors, want to have the ability to get the bets cancelled at any time. And how it works in esports betting, for those who don't know, for those who never placed a bet, if a game is cancelled due to DDoS activity, all bets are refunded. So nobody loses, essentially. And that's been standard practice across all these betting sites. So what heavy bettors and match fixers want is they pay to get the IPs, and then they have them on standby, because if someone's not playing ball, or if there's a win coming their way that's going to cost them money, they deploy the botnet, and the bets get refunded. And that was that's been happening in CSGO since the skins era, and I'm amazed it isn't more prevalent, frankly, in the cash era, but certainly in tier 2, tier 3, certainly in Asia and the CIS regions, you will see a lot of DDoSing happening at lower levels for that reason.
When I saw the Perimatch thing, I thought it was just a loyalty grab, because like they're fairly new into the scene in the region. I'm not sure if it's been a rebrand of something else, but to my knowledge, they weren't around 12 months ago under that name anyway. And I'm just wondering if they were trying to get more people to come to their side by offering these sort of looser terms.
There's something there, mate. There's something there that I'll just intimate it and let it dangle. But Paramatch are new, and they have come into the space, and they are the official sponsor of Epicenter, the official betting sponsor, and they sponsor a couple of esports teams. They sponsor Fnatic, I think. And it just felt to me that it was almost like a show of solidarity, because Virtus.pro were one of the affected teams with the Akuma match. And obviously, you've got a business relationship with ES Force Holdings that own Virtus.pro. I kind of feel, and this is based on nothing, there's no evidence. I haven't seen an email or had anything leaked to me. I just kind of felt it was more about that there was going to be this full court press, because Na'Vi and VP had been negatively affected by the Akuma team, and so returning bets and intimating that there was something untoward helped strengthen their position.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Like if you bet with Betway, for example, and your match didn't get refunded, your bet didn't get refunded, and your best friend bet on Perimatch and he gets his money back, well, you know where that guy's going to bet his next one, because it's perceived that the Perimatch are like understanding of the industry, and maybe that match was sketchy, and you can get your money back, and they're totally above board and fully legit. Like I wonder if it was a bit of just a publicity grab to burn the money that they would have.
I think that's a good read too. I think, but yeah, certainly. I guess. Do you want to get into the cheating allegations then, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, right. Well, I'll wait. I'll go last, I guess.
Do you want to describe what the allegations are first?
Explain what the situation is then.
So, sure, basically, as I said earlier, what happened was during the Akuma matches. So, Akuma come out, they play their first game. It's against Gambit. They have a super close defeat, including they took like Gambit to double OT or something on the first map and then lost 16-13. And everyone's going, oh, wow, isn't the CIS region so strong? Look at this guy, Sensei. He's dropped 50 kills. Wow, these guys will be certainly a team to watch moving forward in the CIS RMR. How right you were. And yeah, then they play, I think it was Na'Vi next, and they 2-0 Na'Vi, and they 2-0 them in a fashion that Na'Vi can fuck up a cup of coffee, let's be real. But, you know, at the end of the day, they managed to avoid Simple or pre-fire Simple. He's completely neutralized, the best player in the world across 2 maps. So people are scratching their heads saying, well, what's going on here? They then go and play Virtus Pro, and they 2-0 them as well. And everyone's like, well, what the fuck's going on? So people start looking at the streams, and lo and behold, it just looks like in inexplicable situations, one player in particular, that Sergey's guy, but there was others, they keep doing this thing where they're looking up and they're moving and like, and they're playing still, and it's in clutch situations usually, and it's like, yeah, listen, I'm dog shit at the game, but I'd be more dog shit if I played like that. Fucking hell, what you doing? You do not stare at your radar in clutch situations for that length of time. And I had a number of players, not just CIS ones, because they've got a vested interest in all this shenanigans. I had several top players before I did by the numbers yesterday. You know, people who've been to majors, competed at majors, what they thought about it. And they said, won't commit to saying anything publicly. But yeah, he's looking at something that you shouldn't be looking at in that situation. There's no way. So those are the cheating allegations as it's been laid out. And so people are saying that they had access to radar, or maybe they were using that GoTV relay we just talked about. Or
the 2 things that I thought of first, but then I've started to think about it more. It could have even just been a private stream. Like the guy could have just been Discord screen sharing him, you know, as the thing, and there'd be no logs for that. Because I thought, like, the whole time, I'm pretty sure the GoTV logs the IPs that connect to it. You could just check, you know, did their LAN, you know, connect to...
Yeah, that's what I said. There's no way they would be dumb enough to use the GoTV, because if Valve come forward and say, oh, we want to see all the GoTV logs, then it's going to be there, and you just bang to rights.
Yeah, but it could have been a screen... I mean, the technology now is so easy. Like, we're using it right now. Like, the Discord screen share is like...
The one-click Discord streaming is super effective, right?
Yeah. And one thing that I've just come to realize in my new role here is with League of Legends, they use the webcams, but they face the screen. They're not using them for broadcast. They make them set them up sort of near their, I guess, elbow, and aimed at their screen, so they can see what their screen looks like at all times.
Right.
That would solve some things, maybe.
Yes.
You'd have to
stop someone potentially having a setup where you could see the radar of the other person, all this cheat.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. You would see actual cheats. You would see little things on second monitors. You'd see quite a bit. Maybe that's something we need to look at. I haven't really thought it through, but you know, when I joined LoL and they told me, you know, make sure your players have got their cameras facing the monitor, and I'm like, surely you want to see the heads for the production. They're like, no. Don't care about that as much. We want to see who's, you know, what's on their screens, and making sure they're not cheating, and making sure the correct player's playing. That would seem to be a big concern in League of Legends. And my reply to that was, well, who are these better players? Like, can I sign them instead?
That one does seem kind of stupid.
Yeah, like, you know, like, who are these people that could possibly play? But so I don't know. Maybe we could look at that for a tournament or two, just to see what people are looking at. I don't know. I don't know what he was looking at. It came out later. I think Chad and Chris J, I think, said there's a bug with the radar and the bomb, which is like, apparently that's been in the game. I think Chad said Yam originally told him, and Yam was in our team in 2015. So like, if that's been in the game for 4 years, that's an interesting bug that's lasted the entirety of competitive Counter-Strike.
Not surprised it was Yam that found it, not Ricky, because of course he would have never seen fucking anything on the radar, would he? There, whatever. Too old a joke. You don't know that story about Ricky?
No, were you not?
Like he's there on your screen. He was like, oh, sorry, my bad.
No, you're thinking of Ricky, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I said. I said,
oh, right, so I think you said Yam.
Not Ricky. Yeah, that's the point. Because he had that ridiculous one where you couldn't see something on his screen.
Yeah.
Still one of the most ridiculous stories I've ever heard.
I mean, like, I'm just gonna, I care less and less about people crucifying me for like.
Context, by the way, Blade himself said he thought we were 100% cheating.